Okay, so this is that drawing mostly required for owners, but I recommend everybody tries to do because it's very powerful if it comes out nicely. You can also try, and if it doesn't come nicely, don't place it. I think for studio, it's a wonderful drawing to try and in order to explain the project as best as possible. It's a section perspective, so something that you can see the benefit of having in a presentation. So how do we go about it? I kind of went ahead and basically go, and I have a section one. This I think we made previously. We treated the roofs in black and so on, but I wonder, and that's the question of this particular video, how can we get it to be three-dimensional? So perspective, not only section, both at the same time. And you can do it. So I have opened Illustrator with that particular section, and I also have the famous panel in design. I'll try to do every single step of the way. I do not have a mouse, so if some of the steps are clumsy, that's the mouse's fault, which is ultimately my fault for not having a mouse. I should have a mouse, but I didn't bring here a mouse, unfortunately. So let's do this. You have to remember what section you're interested in three-dimensionalizing. So you can try out different options, but if you have a section you think it would be nice to look at it from a more kind of a perspectival, just keep that one in mind, and just remember that name of the section is important. Next, you need to go to the 3D. As always, we're going to try to clean up things around. Maybe before I clean up things, I'll just duplicate that, the working 3D here. So I'm going to right click, duplicate. It doesn't matter if it's with detailing because we don't have any annotation, but anyway, I'm going to rename it and I'm going to call it a section perspective. Okay, so for that, I don't care too much about the ground, although I could, depends on what you care about. So I'm going to hide those. Also a couple of levels here. I'm going to say category out. I don't know why I have the origin point there. That shouldn't be there anyway. I'm going to turn on section box, so nothing from these elements are new to you. I'm going to just either open this. I actually don't have to do this, but what I'm going to try to explain is what happens ultimately in the process. So you can go in the 3D and see this as an elevation if you just go and click at the front or right view. So that pretty much gives you the section in a way. It's a section, but it's not a section cut. It's more the drawing seen from an elevation, but we're also cutting through the section box. There's a bit of those three things at the same time. There's an option when you don't select anything, allows you to change the projection mode to perspective. Okay, so that in a way allows you to change what is at first orthographic drawing to a perspectival drawing, and that's done that way. Okay. Now, the way to do this even in a more kind of a effective way, if we go to orthographic again, and imagine you're just in the previous step, I'm going to ZA to zoom extend. There's a way of, basically opening up the wheel. And I think we haven't talked much about this, but there are basically different ways to move around a project in perspective, to orbitate, to zoom, to look around, etc. But there's also a little kind of a shortcut for other options, which is this little display the wheel menu. And there's a orient to view, and you can just select the section that we talked about before. So if you click that, basically cuts it for you and makes an elevation at once. So that's great. But this is orthographic. I can ZA to go directly to that view. I can keep the wheel there and pan around put it in the center as best as possible. And you can also go to the same point of projection mode, same perspective, and you get that particular view, okay? Okay. Ideally, you don't have this element, section by category, neither this element. So you assure that this is as clean as possible. Sometimes you might want to even go back to the same orient to view, because what it does, it centers it for you. CA to zoom extend. Let me see if we are. Seems like it's gonna crash or something. Hope not. No. Just give it another try. I'm gonna go back to the zoom extend. It's better to do that under non-perspective orthographic, apply, wheel, and then give it an orient to view, section 1. So you should probably do this first, zoom extend. There you go. And then perspective. Hopefully that works now. Apply. And who knows why the lines have gone crazy. This is not how it's supposed to look at all. Hmm. Hmm. Let me try again. Close that. Add category. Go to the view. I'm going to do orient to view section 1. Zoom extend. And changing it to perspective. Pan it around until you have the view you like. So that's where I wanted to go. The reason why the drawing is basically shifting to the left is because I do have the car and the section box there, which kind of unbalances the thing. So probably I should have hidden all of those elements so it's really center properly in its place. So once you have like that location in that system, there's another trick that you can do also under the triangle option and say here in increase, decrease focal length, you can go back and then actually go forward with the zoom. So it's a bit of adding perspectival, focal length to it. So again, because of the car, there's not keeping it straight. So maybe you want to do the hiding all of the trees and all these things around beforehand. Okay, so basically that would be your section, and your section can definitely, use some realistic qualities. And from here on, it's a bit very similar to what I have done in other drawings, those that combine vector base and rendering qualities. I would probably think carefully about how you want to, or where you want to place this particular section. Is it a little bit higher, eye level from below? I wouldn't recommend orbitating, obviously, because that changes the perspectival, the focal point, but you're welcome to do more original things. I'm going to rewind backwards here. For example, you could do, if you wanted something a bit, more zoomed in, or maybe you can use the center button to click a specific point, and that would center the whole view to that particular point, which is useful at times. Again, you could potentially do this type of things, but in this project, at least, it won't look that amazing. You might want to just keep it kind of a one focal point approach. Okay. Again, I'm reviewing back to make sure I am in the place I want to be. Okay. So from this point on is you have the possibility of a vector-based drawing, which is this one, and you will do it the same way as we have been doing it always. So it's file, print, PDF, the current window, and then you will choose, as always, just the size of the paper, whatever size it will fit. Make sure you're zoom 100, or if you don't, in this case, it's not that important, the scale. We might want to do fit to page, so it's going to be fit to that page. I would, obviously, this drawing, it's vector processing, so we want that to be a vector. We will say okay, and I'm going to save it. Section perspective. Now, obviously, there are things like I probably want to hide, like I want to hide, the section box. I don't think, unless you have the ground, if you want to have the ground, that's fine. You can have the trees and the cars and even the people. That's perfectly fine. But if you want only the object of the building, then I would probably hide those elements that are just bothering us. And then you will do the same thing, but you will do it under realistic, no? Or you will literally go and render it. So you will render it here. You will probably choose a good quality, high or best. And we haven't talked about rendering too much. I'm going to do draft renderings right now, but you should always get the more the best of the high quality options. I'm just going to do draft so it takes less time. The settings for the renderings in Revit are very kind of dummy. And we will be talking about these settings much more in the third section of the semester. And we will even encourage to potentially study other possibilities of rendering engine like V-Ray and company and so on. But, the settings in Revit are very simple. Lighting is, what kind of light comes in, is exterior, it's interior, etc., etc. This is a little bit of in between. I'm just going to say exterior. Sun, if you have artificial lighting, you would choose sun and artificial if you have some lighting fixtures. By the way, artificial lightings here is going to tell you the lightings you have implemented. I don't have any. Background is just very simple, what kind of background you want. You can also have what I think is best in our case is just a transparent, so you can do a PNG and get everything perfectly transparent. And then this you will have to deal with afterwards, and I'll explain in a second how. You'll do a rendering of this. If he wants to do it. There he goes. So it's not amazing. So you definitely want to work further with this, maybe change materials or do whatever you wanted to do, but it's not the worst in the world. You definitely want to do it just exposure. This allows you to change basic elements of a draft rendering, such as brighter, if you want it brighter, if you wanted dark highlights, if you like more intense shadows, or if you want those brighter, if you want saturation intense. Again, just be careful with those changes. They might be quite too aggressive at times. Shadows lighter, cooler, warmer tones. So these are, basic things that you can change. So once you have set this after draft, then you can go and do the best or high quality. You do the rendering, and what you do is just save that after it's rendered as an image, a PNG, so you get the transparent background. And what you would do is, collect both of them together here in Illustrator. I place this because this is another option. This is the section 1 at scale. So it might be good that you want to have that in a layer so you can turn it off and on. Why? Because what you could do is bring the perspective section that we did and make sure that the scale is the same. If you want a section perspective at scale, you will contrast both of those and you will scale them equally. And what you're going to do is obviously get rid of this one because you don't want that, or just hide it. Bring here the perspective vector drawing and bring the perspective rendering behind, as we have done in previous video tutorials. Make sure that they connect smoothly and nicely, and you have your perspective, your section perspective ready to go. Okay, that's a drawing that could easily go and nicely go in your panel number 2. If you see you don't have a lot of space for that, we can explore ways for you to place it in the coming panel 3, 4, and 5, which are all about renderings and a conceptual drawing. So either way, it would be amazing if you could do this rendering. I think it would be useful for all of you. Another thing that, in other workshops or video tutorials I did is that you can select here the rendering itself and add a level of transparency to it. So you don't have the rendering having so much power that eliminates from the line work. So there's something you might want to explore, transparency to the rendering that is behind the vector-based drawing. Okay. So yeah, hopefully that one works for all of you. Let me stop this.